To order, can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Cicchini? Here. Mrs. Superintendent? Here. Mr. Wall-Malafite? Here. Mr. Giuliano?
Here.
Mr. Nuss?
Here.
Mrs. Stoll? Here. Mrs. Whitty is not here. Mrs. Zilbari? Here. And Mr. D'Agostino?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Would you please join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Sussex-Wantage Regional School District Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the school building, and notice of said meeting sent to the New Jersey Herald and the Star Ledger.
Sussex-Wantage School Mission Statement. The Sussex-Wantage Regional School District is a responsive, caring, child-centered community. Our mission is to educate each individual to become a competent, long-life learner and productive, responsible citizen by providing challenging opportunities in a safe environment through a partnership with families, schools, and communities.
Thank you. At this time, we will move on to the report of the Superintendent of Schools.
Thank you, Mr. D'Agostino. I'd like to invite Mr. Schwartz up to present this month's Students of the Month.
Good evening, Mr. Gall, Mr. D'Agostino, members of our Board of Education, and members in our audience tonight. Our students at Sussex Middle School continue to impress us with their resilience and achievements both in and outside of the classroom. We are looking forward to watching them embark on new journeys and continued success for the remainder of the school year. Tonight I will recognize a student from each grade level that's gone above and beyond thus far this year. The 6th grade Student of the Month for February is Kendall Skirbo. Kendall does well in all of her subject areas, but shows a particular interest in reading, writing, and science. Kendall enjoys reading nonfiction and having the ability to write about subjects that interest her and a variety of science topics. In particular, science is an area that Kendall would likely continue to study as she moves into high school and beyond, as she hopes to be a wildlife biologist someday. She has always been interested in animal relationships and how they interact with their environments. Here at SMS, Kendall is a part of our cross-country team and is looking forward to participating in track this spring. Kendall is also a part of our student council and is excited at the opportunity to continue to be a part of this group for the next 2 years. The 6th grade team stated the following when nominating Kendall for the Student of the Month. We would like to nominate Kendall Skirbo. She is a responsible, hardworking, and enthusiastic learner. She takes pride in her work and achievements and goes above and beyond always. Kendall always works very well with her classmates and serves as a positive role model for all. Please join me in congratulating Kendall as the 6th grade student. The 7th grade student of the month for February is Jaden Soto. Here at SMS, Jaden is enjoying his math class, a subject area that he has always been interested in, as well as his gym class. Outside of school, Jaden can be found hanging out with his family, playing outside, or on his Xbox. While this unassuming young man can appear to be shy, he is making a big impact on our school and those around him. The 7th grade team stated the following when nominating him. Since Jaden first arrived at SMS in December, he has demonstrated integrity and trustworthiness. He continues to make the right choices for himself and can be a true role model for other students. Jaden is extremely respectful of his teachers and other staff members, always interacting with them in the most courteous and civil manner. Jaden is equally helpful to his peers and other students in the school and treats them with the same politeness afforded to the adults. All his teachers are unanimous in their vote for Jaden. Jaden, we are fortunate to have you as a 7th grader. Keep up the great work. Please join me in congratulating Jaden on Student of the Month. The 8th grade student of the month for February is Deborah Todd. Deborah's favorite class here at SMS is science. Not only does she really enjoy the content they are learning about, but she also enjoys the teacher as well. Outside of school, Deborah can be found drawing people and animals or hanging out with her friends. Here at SMS, Deborah has participated in band and is looking forward to another intramural volleyball season this spring, a sport which she is looking to pursue as she moves into high school next year. Deborah has always enjoyed architecture and aspects of art design as it pertains to buildings and structures. She is also looking to pursue courses in the realm of art and art history in high school and beyond, someday using this passion to follow a career in architecture. The 8th grade team stated the following when recommending Deborah. The 8th grade team would like to recognize Deborah Todd for the Student of the Month. She is a respectful, hardworking student who advocates for her own education. She works well cooperatively, gets along with her peers. She is reliable and consistent with the completion of all of her assignments. Her work ethic should be commended. We are so proud of her as she continues to grow as a student. As we say goodbye to her at the end of this year, I can tell you that she will be missed by many and has a positive impact here at SMS. Please join me in congratulating Deborah as the 8th grade student.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz, and congratulations once again to all the recipients. Well done. We always like it when folks stay for the duration of the meeting, but if you chose not to, now would kind of be the opportune time to leave. To report out on a couple of district happenings. I hope you all received the notice that as of March 7th, the governor's given us the discretion as superintendents to make masking voluntary in school districts. So as I've said kind of all along, when the governor gave us that opportunity, I would shift that responsibility for the decision onto the adults, so the respective employee or the parent. There's two little kind of hiccups that we're going to work through over the next couple of weeks. One being buses. Our legal understanding that you probably see around the county is the federal government oversees that. So they have not waived that requirement yet. And some aspects of contact tracing, for those of you who may not be privy to it, one of the things that masks do right now under the guidelines that the DOH put in place was that basically the students wearing the mask properly, they're not deemed a close contact. So far as I can tell now, they've given us the opportunity to take those masks away, but they haven't necessarily changed anything about that close contact tracing. So I'm working with our legal department, our risk managers, and our board to discuss how we can best navigate that. To kind of make it seamless for kids to remain in school. That's the ultimate goal in a safe manner. March 7th, also, in particular at the Clifton Lawrence School, we'll resume using the cafeteria to eat food service. Wantage School and middle school basically use their cafeterias the entire time through COVID, but with modifications. So we had portions of each group, for example, here would eat in the auditorium, and at Wantage would eat in the art room to increase distancing between kids. So Wantage School had the smallest group of that, and we started piloting using the cafeteria in its entirety, and that's been going well this week. And so March 7th, we'll enact that in both other schools. Again, trying to return to as much normalcy as possible. A little bit about the SMS trip. I know Mr. Schwartz and his staff have been working diligently with the kids to kind of try to provide them with experiences throughout the rest of the year that are rewarding, not necessarily what we did prior to COVID, but something that they're interested in doing. So they've given the administration and staff a lot of feedback. I would anticipate a end of the year trip for them occurring at an amusement park such as Hershey. We thought about Dorney Park, but it seems like the kids want to go to Hershey more. We're going to institute activity nights again. That's where the kids kind of spend some time at night, some volleyball, some DJing, dancing, some games. I had the opportunity to attend those several times, and the kids always had fun. We're going to resume the dance over at the firehouse, and the awards ceremony will be resuming too. Other news, B&G, the Buildings and Grounds Committee, just met prior to this meeting, largely to bring Mr. Nuss up to speed on a couple of questions he had since he hadn't been on the board. Namely, we talked about, in preparation for summer, was the status of like the portable air conditioning units that the district put in place several years ago. Mr. Petrowski basically indicated that whenever one goes down, we just replace it. Update on the well system at CEL, that's been a big project that we've been working on. If you ever have occasion to go behind the building, you can see that the structures, the frame of it is almost completed. I think they're going to initiate the roof in the next week or so, depending upon weather. And we're contemplating, based on the board's desire to, now that masking will be voluntary, we have some audio quality issues, moving our board meetings back into the media center. So I don't know if anybody wants to comment on that, but that's all I had, Mr. Geisting.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. All right, at this time, we will move on to audience remarks. Members of the audience are invited to make brief comments about items on this agenda and matters of interest to the district. Are there any audience remarks? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is James Wynn. I live on 72 Glen Road in Wantage, New Jersey. Tonight I wanted to talk just a little bit about the mask mandates. I know there's just a short time left until the governor lifts the mandate. Thank God for that. Seems it's finally coming to an end. At the same time, our kids have had these masks on for far, far too long. We've been misled, we've been lied to. We've just learned from a recent New York Times article that we've had information withheld from us from the CDC. I believe the whole mask mandates and the vaccine debate has been mostly politically motivated. But even with all the changing science and debates and rule changes, the only thing that's been a constant is the suffering of the kids that have to wear the masks every day. As more studies are being done, they come out almost now on a daily basis about the health effects that these kids are going to be suffering from, sometimes for the rest of their lives. There'll be consequences to this. I was just made aware, I knew today Sussex Tech had a vote at 4 o'clock to remove the mask mandate in their school. And I was just made aware about 10 minutes ago that it passed. So they are going to remove the masks. I'm not sure if it's immediately. This is, again, what I heard, but I did see on their page that they were going to have that vote today at 4. So that's what I've heard. So that's why I'm here tonight. I'm going to ask to request that the board have a vote to remove the masks immediately. I don't see where there can possibly be any science on March 7th that's not here today. It's an arbitrary day. I think it was politically motivated. I think we all know the damage the masks are doing. These kids, the only place they wear the mask is in school. The only place anyone wears a mask is in school. Once they leave school, they get off the bus, and the shame of it is these kids, I pick these kids up off the bus, and they get off, and they get in my car, and we could drive home and sit at the dinner table, and they still don't take their mask off, because they're so used to wearing it. And it's such a shame that it's got to this point where these kids don't even know the difference of not even having the masks on. They don't even know the damage that's been being done to them. So again, I wanted to ask the board tonight to consider ending the mandate immediately. And that's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wynn.
Thank you, Mr. Wynn. Thank you. Just to comment a little bit, I don't speak for Sussex-Wantage. I would, refer you to Superintendent Mogul, but I suspect, I don't know for certain, but I suspect, in my conversations, and we just had County Superintendent Roundtable meeting on Friday, which is basically where all the superintendents get together and they meet with the county executive superintendent and she disseminates information from the state type thing. So some districts had like our operational plan for COVID that they say things like, Sussex-Wantage will use the mask so long as it is aligned with the government's, right? Whereas some other districts may not have had language that gave me discretion to do that on any date, right? If they change it as March 7th, I have the power to do that. So that may be what's going on in other districts where they feel more comfortable putting it on agenda and passing a resolution saying that as of March 7th, but I don't know the exact answer to that, and I appreciate your comments. I know, the significant number of people that I interact with have some frustration over masks, have had frustration over masks the entire time, and I get it. In my own family, I may have personal beliefs about it as well that don't always jive with what I have to do as a school official.
I understand that, 100%. I don't really even know what the process would be. I just felt like I had to get it out.
Oh, yeah,
I don't know if it's a possibility. I'm not sure if they needed to pass a resolution. I'm not sure if it's just a simple vote the board could have. And to be honest, I would be actually shocked if it happened. But I would be disappointed in myself if I didn't try. There's an end in sight. The end is March 7th. A month ago, there was no end in sight. It seemed almost useless to try to come in. I've been only to one other board meeting before where in-class learning and virtual learning that, there's a lot of things I was upset about. So I do understand that there's other things, and I'm not quite sure actually what Sussex Tech did vote on. But from what I read on their page, it said they're voting to remove the masks pretty much immediately.
Yeah, and
so-
again, I think we all understand your frustration.
Yeah.
And I don't speak for every member of the board, they can certainly chime in. I would suspect, just knowing them as much as I do, the great majority of them probably, if not all of them, agree with you.
I agree. I think we should get rid of it.
And I think if the law afforded them the opportunity to do that, they probably would have done it a long time ago.
Yeah, and we passed to interject in August, I think, a mandate or anti-mandate resolution, sent it to Governor Murphy. So this board, as a majority, definitely agrees with you. I'll do my due diligence and ask. I don't think there is, but Ms. Fabrest, there's nothing legally that this board could do at this point, correct? Until March 7th.
Well, is there anything, would ending the mask mandate be illegal?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I believe, Ms. Fabrest, maybe you could outline some of the consequences for not following the mandate. I know you can't raise.
I can't really pull this.
The microphone's not working.
So because it's a mandate right now until the 7th, if the board were to disregard it or violate the mandate, they can risk loss of state aid. The individual board members could be susceptible to ethics charges. The members of administration can risk the suspension of their certificate, which means it wouldn't be able to actually serve in their current role. In addition, they could be met
I'm
with
sorry,
civil.
who wouldn't be able to serve?
She had said that the administrators could lose their certificates if you end the mask mandate prior to March 7th.
So for instance, Mr. Bull is able to serve as superintendent because he holds a particular certificate from the Department of Education. If that certificate is suspended or revoked, he wouldn't be able to continue to serve in his position. So those are some of the penalties that administrators face if they don't comply with the mandate. In addition, there's civil penalties such as fines, and it could be also criminal penalties.
Yeah, I don't want to belabor the point, but even if Mr. Gall voted no, and the board voted to remove them, he would be subject to.
Well, if he agreed, so now he's in the schools every day, for instance, right? And
I,
so he's allowing the students not to wear the masks, right? His knowledge of it, he's allowing it to continue. He could be away, yeah.
all right, thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks
Mr.
for-
Nguyen.
Thanks for taking the time to explain it to me.
Thank you.
Amber Simons, Wantage. I personally would be curious to see how quick it would take the governor to respond, since the governor hasn't responded about the unemployment issue that we have in the district. But I'm not here about the masks, I'm here about something else. Something that I've been here 3 years in a row about. I have two kids that have been through this school system, K through 8. One's in high school now, one's in 8th grade. I have not had an issue in this district, K through 5. Every single year in 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade, I've had an issue with teachers. Not every teacher, before I get jumped on. There's excellent teachers. I have teachers that I could rattle off from kindergarten through 8th grade that are excellent. But every year I find myself at a board meeting the last 3 years ranting about the lack of communication for my son. My older son didn't have a 504. My younger son has a 504. He has major focusing issues that we as a family try to keep under control, okay? We've been very successful with it until the middle school. I feel like it's a constant battle to beg the teachers to keep in communication with me and my husband. Well, really maybe because I'm the main point of communication. But I feel that every year it's split in half. Half the teachers are right on top of it and half the teachers aren't. In 6th grade, my mother was sick, dying in my house. My son was failing every class. I couldn't sit on top of the parent portal. My son was failing every class. Not one teacher contacted me. 6th grade. 7th grade last year, I stood up at the podium in the library, ranting and raving that my son was falling behind in this class, no communication. I am at my wit's end now. I am so glad he is out the door of this middle school this year because I can't take another year at this school. It's a snake pit. I'm not even kidding. And you know what? There's a reason why parents take their kids, move them to Lafayette, move them to charter, do whatever they can do come 6th grade to get their kids out of this school. I'm not kidding. It happens. They went out in droves a few years ago and everybody knows it. And there's a reason why. And this is one of the reasons why, because if your kid needs one bit of extra help, God help you if they don't get the right teachers. Because my son has a couple teachers that are right on top of it, and guess what he's got? 96, 86, 84. And then, this marking period, I get a report card, 96 in algebra, 84 in science, 84 in writing, all this. And then he has a striking 53. In what? Technology. Are you kidding me? You're making robots. My kid has a 53. Have I heard anything from this teacher the entire marking period? Not a word. He has a 504 sitting right in front of him, and the only accommodation I ever ask of any teacher, because he's very mainstream, you'd never even know he has a 504, is that if he's falling behind, we need to get in front of it so that he doesn't get too far behind and we can get him on track, because he can be a good student, and he usually is. 53, not a single word, not an email, not a phone call, and a 504, as I'm sure the attorney up there knows, is a legal document that these teachers are required to follow. This teacher failed my son on his report card with a 53. He failed my son in other ways because my son feels like a piece of crap coming home with a 53 on his report card. This teacher never said one word to my kid, never said one word to me through email or phone call the entire marking period. And now, this isn't the only teacher, by the way. We have the health teacher, too. The health teacher had a problem with my son's Let's Go Brandon t-shirt, had an 87 average in tests and quizzes, but went hunting for a week, okay? And he then missed the one and only homework assignment that was assigned on the report card. He got a 0 for it, and it brought him to a failing grade. Boy, you think that weighted average was a little off? Then we have social studies. My son has a 70-something. I'm like, why do you have a 70-something? Everybody says this is the easiest class. Well, we're just told to copy and paste. Copy and paste. I said, well, that's pretty easy. Why do you have a 50? Why do you have a 0? Why do you have a 50, a 0? This isn't making sense. All along on the parent portal, grades aren't entered for social studies until the last week, right? Right before grades are in. So I go to Mr. Schwartz with these 3 classes and I say, why is my kid getting 80s and 90s in these other classes of whom the teachers communicate with me constantly? Weiss Connors, Rutiniak, I have no issues whatsoever. They are on top of him, okay? If anything goes the wrong way, they're emailing me immediately. Brody needs to come in on Tuesday, catch himself up for math, no issues. So now, we had the health issue. They straightened the health issue out because the homework assignment was not kosher. It wasn't supposed to be a weighted average, bringing him to a failing grade because he missed the one and only homework assignment the entire marking period. Supposedly that's fixed. It's not fixed on the report card. I just checked the parent portal. Social studies, apparently they were gonna adjust the 50s and the zeros because nobody could make head or tail out of what really went on with those grades because it was a mystery, so they were gonna fix that. It's still not fixed in the parent portal. The report card is still the grade it is. The 53 in technology still stands as a 53, I guess, because Mr. Artur is gonna play hardball with me right now. And he picked the wrong one to play hardball with because I am not backing down. You're not gonna give my kid a 53, the 53 is not staying on the report card, and you're gonna start doing your job for $96,000 a year, and I want this board to rice him, and any other teachers you feel you need to, if you need to talk about them in executive, because there needs to be accountability. If you're gonna hold my kid accountable for homework assignments and fail him, then that 504 that's sitting in front of you needs to be adhered to, because if it's not, then you need to be held accountable. Is he gonna get a raise? Is the board gonna vote for him to get his raise? Is there a teacher in this room? I wanna talk to the good teachers, the teachers that do their job, and I wanna know, do they support a teacher that doesn't do their job like that blatantly ignores a 504, sends a kid home with a 53, a kid that it's 10 times harder for a kid like that to do well in school. And to make him feel even worse by not even communicating with him or his parents about his grade. Mind you, it's only technology, but still, this is 8th grade, the kids are impressionable. I want my kid to like school. I want my kid to be accountable, and Mr. Schwartz knows that. If he has stuff to do, I'm on him. But my God, what is going to happen to the teachers that aren't doing their job? Because they're all not unicorns and rainbows. Believe me, we all know this.
Thank you, Mrs. Simon.
Andrew Sparta, 898 Greenville Road. So obviously, there's no secret that Lafayette approved the shared position of superintendent at Sussex-Wantage. With that being said, I would like to know where our district is in finalizing this, and as a taxpayer and a parent, what is the process for hiring a new principal? Is there a committee for it? Who makes these decisions? What exactly happens? I hope whoever comes in as principal has every intention of putting our child's needs first and foremost. I also hope that it's not going to cost the taxpayers or trickle down to our children to have to cut any staff. We have been a part of this district for 4 years and have 3 principals. That's kind of crazy to me. I also hope that this person doesn't have a personal agenda, because for the past 4 years that I have religiously been coming to these meetings, there's been a lot of personal agendas on display, and with this, I'm being very specific in reference to individual board members from the past. The only agenda we need are the ones that are going to benefit the children of this district. CEL is the beginning of our children's educational journey. It's the base and stepping stones to help build a solid foundation for our children. They are the youngest and the most vulnerable in this district. If we don't have a principal who is going to be here for the right reasons, it's only going to be a negative effect, not only on the students, but down to the staff. With that being said, it was brought to my attention that a teacher who got COVID put some blame on students, stating that she got sick from them. She told them to make sure that when they're wearing their masks, that it's up and over their nose and mouth. Another teacher stated that her poor attitude towards students was because of the children's bad behavior. She then lectured them about how to behave, and the students ended up with minimal time for learning the subject that they were supposed to be taught at that time. I understand that students need to be disciplined, but to use the whole class time I feel was unnecessary. Obviously, accountability is lacking from parents, students, and staff. I've heard plenty of behavioral and bullying issues in our district to the point where both of my children have been exposed to it. My children come to school every day ready and eager to learn. And some of the stories I hear are just unbelievable and unacceptable. This should not be something that our children should have to endure while trying to learn. After all, they're going to school to learn, not watch kids misbehave and not be held accountable for their behavior and actions. I know that there is no such thing as a perfect teacher, perfect student, parent, or even district, but I feel that we all need to work together instead of against each other. After all, We should be here for the best interest and to educate and provide for the children in this district to the best of our abilities. Also, just on a side note, I'm very happy that lunch is being moved into the all-purpose room. I've talked to Mr. Gold about it a couple times, so I'm happy that
Oh, I
that's.
don't recall ever hearing that from you this time.
I'm very happy about that, you know, I'm sure the teachers are happy about it, I'm sure the custodians are happy about it. Taco Tuesday, they can make a mess on the floor, it's not on their
And the
desks.
pancake syrup is a big
Yeah,
deal.
syrup, you know, whatever, so, also, Mr. Ball, can you, go into detail a little bit about the email with the security drill? Like, what's the security drill that was done? Is that the same as like?
Yeah, so we kind of balance the information we're giving out, but today's happen to be a shelter in place, so the state of New Jersey requires us to do a variety of security drills throughout the school year, shelters in place, lockdown.
So they're just known as
Evacuation.
security drill?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, they're generic notifications that recently just changed. I want to say like it was enacted a month ago, where now, at the end of each drill, we have to tell the school and the community that it was just a drill.
Okay,
Yeah, that's just a phone call that schools.
and then is there any insight on the principal position or what's going on
Oh,
with
I'm
that?
sorry. So I know that that's created a lot of questions, and so really, even though both school boards, took a vote on that, is by no means finalized at this stage. With that, basically, that vote consisted of a process that allows it to go forward to the county superintendent. From what I gather, they didn't want to advance the process unless they knew they had both boards on board for it.
Okay,
So it actually hasn't been, to my knowledge, sent to the commissioner's office yet, so it's not really approved yet. After that, hopefully gets approved, comes back, I'd imagine there'll be another formal vote on a resolution to kind of finalize it. My attorney will also get involved in the situation, so it's still a number of steps in the process. I can only point to what I've done in the district prior, whether it's hiring a teacher or, administrator. I've always fared well with the committee process. The only caveats here that that vote kind of gave me was some confidence to start brainstorming that process. So I'll do some listening sessions with different stakeholder groups, kind of focus groups. But I'm also looking at, you remember a couple years back, we had some challenging circumstances financially, which is still not fully resolved. We're waiting on our state aid information. But part of that process, I'm a big believer in efficiency and things like that, so I consolidated the administrative jobs 4 down to 2, saved about $250,000, in my opinion, in perpetuity. But, so I'm also looking to identify, are there potentials to do that? So as of now, I don't have a final decision for you, but we'll try to get the best candidate possible, who's committed to the long-term goals of the district, right?
is it ideally gonna be like the end of the year, or will that person start in the beginning of next year? Like, is there like a time frame of when?
I think the goal would be for me to do the shared services agreement probably in July. I don't speak for Lafayette, I don't even speak for these folks, they can talk to you too, but I think then you'd want to have that transition in place.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Hey, Mike, you want to let them know that we do interview the process, it's not just you.
Oh, yeah, so, generally speaking, when we have those circumstances, again, I think everyone I've been a part of, even if it was to some degree consolidation of administrative positions, as the final leg of the process, I always have the candidate come in and talk to the board, basically like an interview or presentation, so they get to know the candidate as the final. And I have a big belief that's a huge, you're identifying a good thing, like that's a huge role, having influence over everybody's kids' lives, especially coming into the district. So we want a compassionate person, an intelligent person, someone who's a good person. And the board's been an excellent judge of that character, in my opinion, not just because it's self-serving.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, are there any other audience remarks?
Hi, all.
It's all you.
Hello.
Hi, good to see you again.
See you.
Hi. Okay, hello, Jana Bars, 34 Unionville Avenue. Great to see everybody. I'm glad to see people speaking out, that they are speaking out on the discussions and you're hearing them. I'm grateful. I'm grateful to hear that these mask mandates are finally going to be lifted, and they should be. COVID's been over for a while, and the Constitution and our rights should be something that everybody looks into and remembers. And I think that we should remember to teach this to our children in the middle school, just regarding my grandson that can't tell me anything about the Constitution. I mean, this is ridiculous. I have an 8th grade grandson, 14 years old, and he can't really tell me about the Constitution. This is disturbing. I remember telling you about this book, The Real, you know whom. I don't have to say or show it. I don't want to have anything go on YouTube. Because of that, I gave you the dossier. So I do want to let you know that I did just go and serve the district attorney. I gave him filed papers on the dossier and to open up a, with the sheriff, Sheriff Mike Estrada, I believe is his name. I sent him a notice as well to open up an investigation because of the crimes against humanity with these, quote, jabs that you all are, I don't know about middle school as much as high school, but you're all coercing the kids to take it, and it's against the law because you're not medical doctors. You don't have the right to tell the kids to take an emergency use authorization shot. It is not approved. And we know now that between the 15 to 24-year-olds or something like that, even in the different age groups, the younger they are, the more subjected they are to be injured from myocarditis, pericarditis, neurogenics or neurological diseases. That was it was the DOD from the military that came out that showed so much that they're hiding this from the kids, and you can't coerce the kids. You're not medical doctors to tell the kids to go get a shot. This is emergency use. So I do know about the ESSER funds, and I do know a little bit about phase 2 and phase 3. I don't know what came out in phase 1. The phase 2 shows $527,000. Phase 3 shows $1,183,000 plus. So I'd like to know where the money's going to. I'm gonna look into a FOIA account just because I feel like the children have been the ones that have suffered more than anybody because of the greed and the money. And I'd like to know where the monies are coming from. I'd like to know where they're going to, because I do know that the kids are being told that they have to do the social distancing, let's do the testing, let's do the masking, this is all from the ESSER funds because you have to do this in order to maintain that money and get that money. And our children are suffering more than anybody, and I really can't stand to see it anymore. And I did tell you, I served the sheriff and the prosecuting attorney to open up an account of an investigative, because you all have committed felony crimes as well as state crimes, and you can be held accountable. And I don't think you want that. I've told you that before. I don't think you want to be involved in that. But you will be involved in it. And if one child from this school gets injured because somebody's coercing that child to go get a jab, and then they get injured, you should be held liable and responsible. So I'm giving you the facts. Come on, Ken, tell me what you got.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I'm just looking for clarification. Are you saying that somebody has,
Anybody from the
forced the
school
student to
that
get a shot?
coerces the children.
right, no, but are you saying that somebody in our district has done that? Like, that's what I'm just trying to understand.
All I know is I will tell you this for a fact. I was at the high school meeting 2 nights. Every single, not everyone, but majority of the board members will say, get your kids vaccinated. get your kids vaccinated. You're not doctors, you do not have the right to do that. That's Title 18, Section 242, color of law. That's a federal crime.
Well-
You can't do that, that's coercion.
I guess I'm just, you're not saying that somebody's done it, you're saying if somebody does.
But if the school is, like, I watched the high school do, I don't know about the middle school here.
Okay, I just need to make sure, like,
That's happening.
I'm looking at, yeah.
That's
I
why
just-
I'm saying, because that is coercion. If anybody is in this school telling these children that they need to get the shot, that is like a medical advice,
Sure.
just like the mask. The mask is considered a medical device. You're not doctors. Nobody on this board has that right. You are committing federal crimes, as well as state statute
Mrs.
crimes.
Bartz, again, the board is not the ones deciding to
Okay,
mandate masks.
so I just say, right now, take the mask off, because we already know the CDC and Governor Murphy already said, why do we have to wait until the 7th? Take them off now. That's the mask, that's one thing, but, we'll work on the others, but I'm just saying, take the mask off now. It's already been told by the CDC and Governor Murphy. They don't work, it's not needed, so why do we have to wait until the 7th? Why are our kids gonna continue to be subjected to have to wear a mask? Sorry, I'm just letting you know, you hear me every month, and I've got enough evidence that I've given you, and I don't think you wanna be in this situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bartz.
Thank you.
And I just want to remind everyone again too, last month the board passed a resolution permitting, they should be allowed, but students who are not vaccinated to participate in extracurricular activities. So this board as a whole completely agrees. On that note, it hasn't advanced at all, but there is a bill that is sponsored in the New Jersey State Legislature, 82679. Assemblyman McJury from Jersey City, but it would permit minors age 14 and older to consent to certain vaccines without permission of a parent or guardian. And so my suggestion again is these decisions are not being made on the school board level, but write your representatives, whatever district you live in, and tell them that you believe in parental rights and that you don't agree that a 14-year-old should be able to make that decision. It's certainly concerning to me personally. Yeah, go ahead, Mrs. Bartz. Yes, Mrs. Bartz. Mrs. Bartz, does anyone else want to speak before I let Mrs. Bartz come back up?
I just have one quick comment to
Sure.
make, but I'm fine.
Okay, so Mrs. Bartz, if you'd like to come back up, please.
I appreciate that. Thank
No
you
problem.
for giving me the opportunity to come back up here.
Sure.
That is my biggest issue, is parental consent. The school board does not have the right, and the school teachers, nobody has the right to tell our children that they don't have to have parental consent. You have to be 18 years old to vote, okay? You're not cognitive enough. You are growing up. You are still considered a child up until the age of 18. You can't vote until you're 18. So how can anybody sit there on this school board and say that a child that's 12 or 14 or 15 years old has the right to come up and say, I can do this without parental consent because my teacher says so? No, that is against the law. That is completely against the law. That is code or Title 18 code or Section 242 color of law, coercion. You cannot do that. Nobody has the right to do medical for our children. You're not medical doctors. You're supposed to be educators. You cannot do this to our children. You are committing a felony crime. You cannot do this. So any teacher or person from this administration that wants to sit there and tell our children that they can get a shot without our consent is against the law. Anybody that sits there and coerces our children is against the law. I gave you the info. You all have it. Some of you, majority, not, I don't know about you newcomers, but I already told you, I went to the county prosecutors and the sheriff's office. They've gotten the information. They're going to hopefully open up an investigation. And I don't think any of you want to be on that list.
Right, thank you, Mrs. Barnes.
Thank you.
Mr. Warren, you said you had one more comment?
I just wanted to comment a little bit further on Amber's topic, the parent portal. I like the parent portal. I know my wife loves it. It helps a lot to keep up with how your kids are doing, test grades, all that. See if they're behind, ahead, whatever it is. But there definitely are irregularities in it. There's been times where some teachers are right on top of it. They take a test, it's in the parent portal that night. There's been times, I know, where it's been just the week of the end of the semester, and there's been 5 grades that haven't been put in. That's quite common. I don't know what teachers do, which ones are really good with it and which ones aren't. But I do quite often hear the frustration about how all the teachers definitely have different methods of the way they input their scores. So it maybe it's something that might be a little bit more uniform, I think would help. It wasn't why I was here tonight, but after I heard what Amber had to say, it's definitely a concern, and I hear a lot how it's just not very reliable and done the same way by each teacher. So I know my one daughter, I have a daughter in this school and a daughter in high school, that she ended up with a bad grade at the end of the last day of the marking period. And that grade wasn't, maybe it was a week of the, whatever it was, I'm not quite sure. But the day of the marking period, the grade was posted, and she had missed the high honor roll by 1 point with an 89. And then there was a teacher in this school who she asked if she could possibly do any extracurricular or anything to make that 1 point up. And the teacher had informed her to try harder next marking period. I don't want to say who the teacher was, but that did happen, and it was a problem with the parent portal where I think if that grade would have came in sooner, there might have been a little bit more time to fix that grade. So I just think a little bit more consistency with the parent portal would help everybody. That's all.
Thank you, Mr.
Comment. I have
Thank
one
you.
more comment.
Good, Mrs. Simons.
To follow up on the parent portal, I would highly suggest that you also look into, because of what happened with the health grade, it wasn't, I don't even know that it was just my kid. It might have been more than my kid, but it, when you have a grade that is impacted so heavily, like you said, that one grade brought her down to an 89, okay. But when you have an 87 that's brought down to a 60-something by the one and only homework assignment that's assigned the entire marking period, who is keeping track of that teacher, or any teachers, the way that they're weighting the weight of any grade? One homework assignment brought you to a failing grade from an 87. It just doesn't mathematically add up. So who's supervising that? Like, is there somebody that oversees what percent counts for what in a kid's final grade? And if these teachers, seriously, for parents, it's not always easy to get on the parent portal and check on your kid every single day. But it doesn't even make sense to get on the parent portal if it's not going to be filled out correctly and accurately at least once a week. You know what I mean? How can you stay on top of it as a parent if you contact a teacher and they're like, oh, well, half the grades are missing. Well, you're like, well, I don't even know what the hell my kid has then. How do I know? It could be anything. It could be a 90, it could be a 20. So, there's got to be some kind of overseeing of what these grades are actually made up of. And hey, in the case of Let's Go Brandon and all of a sudden failing my kid, I don't know, maybe you want to look into what they're doing with individual students. So they have that power to skew a grade that way, to fail the kid just because their mom bashed them at a board meeting last year too, because that did happen. And it's just a little coincidental that he had the Brandon shirt on, there was a big deal made of it, and now here we are with the 60-something in health. Just saying.
Thank you, Mrs. Simons. Are there any other audience remarks? Seeing none, we will move on to Board Secretary. Yes. Really quick, please. This is supposed to snow like 8 inches.
Real quick, I'd like, sorry,
It's all right, you're already off tomorrow.
this sweatshirt here is the sweatshirt that our daughter gave to my son on Christmas Day, 2 weeks prior to her death. Ohio, we're Ohioans. She was 18. Tragic car accident. My son in 8th grade at this school, we had the phone call 2 weeks before Christmas.
We're so sorry for your loss. It's very tragic.
And I'm trying to save the kids. These jabs are not vaccines, they're gene therapy crap that has so many different vials of stuff. They don't prevent transmission, they don't prevent COVID, they don't do anything. They're 2 years old. They're still giving this, and then we are under emergency use evaluation, emergency use authorization. They've not been studied for the children. Please, why in the world? We lost a daughter to a tragedy. I would never put some kind of a gene therapy in my child under an emergency use just because the government's telling me it's safe and effective when I know it's pretty obvious it's not. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Barnes. All right, we're going to move on to Board Secretary certification, please.
Pursuant to NJAC 6A 23A-16.10C3, I certify that as of January 31st, 2022, no line item account has encumbrances and expenditures which in total exceed the line item appropriation in violation of NJAC 6A 23A-16.10A.
Thank you. At this time, we were going to move on to the approval of board minutes for January 6th, 2022, annual reorganization meeting, and January 27th, 2022, regular and executive session. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Stahl. Thank you, Mrs. Cooper Trinidad. Is that you? Okay. Sorry. All right, any discussion on? I'm sorry, yes. If you, I believe if they were reviewed, Mr. Bress, they can vote on it, is that correct? Mrs. Rickard? If you reviewed the minutes, you can
Abstain on
vote.
one particular set if you needed to.
Yeah, if you could just say which one you want to abstain on if you'd like. Any other discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Mrs. Stahl?
Abstain on January 6th because I was absent. Yes, January 27th.
Mrs. Cooper Trinidad?
Yes.
Mrs. Chikini?
Yes.
Ms. DeWall Malafite?
Abstain from January 6th, yes to January 27th.
Mr. Giuliano?
Yes.
Mr. Nuss?
Yes.
Mrs. Zilberry? Yes. Mr. D'Agostino?
Yes.
Minutes are approved.
All right, we have no need for the first executive session on agenda items, so we will move on to the presentation of agenda items.
Under personnel, I'd like to move items 1 through 23. However, under number 1, teacher assistant, I'm pulling the teacher assistant candidate. And I'm pulling numbers 16 and 20, which will be relisted on the addendum.
All right, noting Mr. Gall's changes, I'd like to look for a motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Nuss. And looking for a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on personnel? Roll call, please.
Mr. Nuss?
Yes.
Mr. Giuliano.
Yes.
Mrs. Chikini.
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper Trinidad.
Yes.
Ms. DeWall Malafite.
Yes.
Mrs. Stoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Zilberry.
Yes.
Mr. D'Agostino.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under policy, I'd like to move items 1 through 5.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Stahl. Looking for a second.
I'll second, yes.
Mr. Nuss, any discussion on policy? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Stoll.
Yes.
Mr. Nuss.
Yes.
Mrs. Chikini.
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper Trinidad.
Yes.
Ms. DeWall Malafite.
Yes.
Mr. Giuliano.
Yes.
Mrs. Zilberry.
Yes.
And Mr. D'Agostino.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under finance, I'd like to move items 1 through 18.
Looking for,
I'll motion.
thank you, Mrs. Stahl. Looking for
I'll
a second.
second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Stoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper Trinidad.
Yes.
Mrs. Chikini.
Abstain, finance number 2, check number 42502.
Is it yes and the rest?
Yeah.
Ms. DeWall Malafite.
Yes.
Mr. Giuliano.
Yes.
Mr. Nuss.
Yes.
Mrs. Zilberry.
Yes.
And Mr. D'Agostino.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under special services, I'd like to move items 1 through 6.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Looking for a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Nuss.
Yes.
Mrs. Stoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Chikini.
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper Trinidad.
Yes.
Ms. DeWall Malafite.
Yes.
Mr. Giuliano.
Yes.
Mrs. Zilberry.
Yes.
And Mr. D'Agostino.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under curriculum, I'd like to move item number 1.
I'll make, you can do it, I've made a couple.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
You guys are excited.
We are, right.
Any discussion?
No.
All right, roll call, please.
Ms. DeWall Malafite.
Yes.
Mr. Nuss.
Yes.
Mrs. Chikini.
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper Trinidad.
Yes.
Mr. Giuliano.
Yes.
Mrs. Stoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Zilberry.
Yes.
Mr. D'Agostino.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Referring to the addendum under personnel, I'd like to move items 1 through 6.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Ms. DeWall Malafite.
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper Trinidad.
Yes.
Mrs. Chikini.
Yes.
Mr. Giuliano.
Yes.
Mr. Nuss.
Yes.
Mrs. Stoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Zilberry.
Yes.
Mr. D'Agostino.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under finance, I'd like to move items 1 and 2.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion on finance and the addendum? Roll call, please.
Mr. Nuss.
Yes.
Mrs. Stoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Chikini.
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper Trinidad.
Yes.
Ms. DeWall Malafite.
Yes.
Mr. Giuliano.
Yes.
Mrs. Zilberry.
Yes.
Mr. D'Agostino.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under special services, I'd like to move item number 1.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion on special services? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. D'Agostino.
Yes.
Ms. DeWall Malafite.
Yes.
Mrs. Chikini.
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper Trinidad.
Yes.
Mr. Giuliano.
Yes.
Mr. Nuss.
Yes.
Mrs. Stoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Zilberry.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. This time, we will move on to unfinished business. Does anyone on the board have any unfinished business? Mr. Nuss?
I have a couple things. So I don't know what I was watching, but I thought it was interesting. A school in Pennsylvania banned CNN 10. And I called and I asked if we had that still going on in our district. I had mentioned it a while ago and it went off my radar. And honestly, I don't think we should be having CNN 10 in our schools. I think it's very biased. And I don't know how we do this, but I want to get rid of it. And that's my opinion. I don't know what everyone else feels, but I don't think we should be having that source for our kids to see on a daily basis, because I feel it's one-sided. How does everyone else feel?
I agree
How about the board?
So just so, I don't know how many board members know what CNN 10, what kind of tool it is. Yeah, it's largely gonna be a tool that's a web-based, used by predominantly probably Sussex Middle School Social Studies Department on and off. And, you know, a general description would be they'd probably do like 10-minute video type clips about a topic, maybe current events, things like that.
The problem that I have with it is that that's all that the kids see. And if they just see that and they hear those views for a year, or I don't know how long, a semester, I feel it's like branding, and I don't agree with that branding. And as long as, I'm voicing my opinion as a board member. Anyone else wants to run for the board and voice their opinion, you're more than welcome. I think, you know, I'm just curious what the rest of the board feels.
I'm happy to hear you bring this up.
Yes.
I brought it up before, and then when I saw the school in Pennsylvania make a resolution to get rid of it, and they did it that night, I was like, well, gee, I didn't realize that was even possible, and I'm gonna try. So I don't know how everyone feels, but I think with the way things are, board members need to start speaking up, and I'll be the first to do it. I'm tired of I'm tired of the strong arm coming down, and I don't deal with that narrative. I'm tired of it. So what does everyone else think on the board?
Yeah, get rid of it.
I agree.
CNN,
Yeah,
that's not
I
even real,
know.
is it? CNN?
I
I don't think so.
I mean, I think.
So is it different news channels, like, either, like, they have different political views?
Yeah, so just to give you a little background.
Like, I've never heard of CNN.
Yeah.
So, like,
Nobody has.
what's the background, like, behind CNN 10? What is it actually?
Yeah, like I said, the basic general overview that I can give you, it's not a tool that I had used in my classroom. You know, like I said, about a 10-minute video clip on some topic, generally current event type issue. Give you a little bit of background on the scenario. CNN 10 has come up before, and basically it was referred to the curriculum committee. Curriculum committee looked at it, charged our curriculum director with coming up with some different ideas for the budget process this year going into next year. So I know she's done the legwork on that. And admittedly, the composition of the board has changed. So that may be something you want to do, is refer back to the curriculum people to have them talk about it.
I don't even know if it needs to go there. I'm just curious. I'm so tired of, I don't even know what it is. It's just like how does the board feel? Go around the room. How do you feel? Like, we don't talk about this stuff enough. This is unfinished business. And, you know, a lot of times the community says we're not here to have an open discussion. I'm trying to get people to say what they feel. So we're having a conversation, and I honestly don't want this in our curriculum. Whoever's using it, you know, unless you want to open it up to other viewpoints. I don't care if they're saying apples are red every day. Yes, apples are red. That's totally fine. My point is, it's the branding that it creates. It creates a familiarity with something that I don't agree with. And that's my problem. I don't care if what they're doing is totally perfect and correct, because it's not like that other places. So, meaning out in the news. We want to put on other channels and alternate it so kids can see different viewpoints. I'm fine with that, but until we figure out how to do it, I say get rid of it.
I agree. I would agree. I think like opening it up so you could do one day and like one at the end of the week, so there's two sides, so we're not
A
just
variety
looking at
of
like a
different news
bias.
channels.
You
Fair and
perhaps-
balanced, right?
Yeah,
Fair and balanced.
absolutely, right.
Should be fair and balanced.
I would be open to that.
You make a good point about the branding. Like, I think about my cell phone. You know, like I have an iPhone. You know, and if an Android comes out that's 10 times better, I'm not going to get it because I'm used to an iPhone.
Right.
But and I guess the question is, what are the alternatives? And then the board can certainly speak against it.
Well, I'm on the
question is,
record as not wanting it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we have, Mr. Rest, do we have the the board to speak against it, we could all say we don't want it, but does the board have the authority to, or is that an administrative?
That's more administrative because the CNN 10, my understanding, is not a curriculum. It seems to be like a instructional strategy or tool that would be implemented. So it's really more something that the administration would hear feedback and kind of then consult with the director of curriculum and teachers and then assess, the appropriateness of that tool in the classroom.
I think it's inappropriate.
I
So-
agree.
Is it possible that something, whatever happened in Pennsylvania, they have a different structure?
I can't answer, 'cause I'm not familiar with Pennsylvania structure, but in New Jersey, I mean, this is a topic for the curriculum committee. So this way you're speaking with the opportunity to assess more how it's being utilized in the classroom and then provide that input to the.
And I don't think
All you have to
Mr.
do is Google Pennsylvania school removes CNN, and it's all over.
And maybe if you choose to go to curriculum committee and,
I'll be happy to get on the curriculum.
yeah, because Mr. D'Agostino might
Yeah.
relinquish his.
Yeah,
seat that
Mr.
day.
Nuss, would you like to take my seat?
I would, you know what? Yes,
could-
but I have a couple other things to go over, so.
So next month's curriculum meeting, you'll take
But
my
why do
spot.
we have to have it? If the board says right now, if we have more people here, can't whoever's using it come up with an extra, something else to do? I don't want it in the schools.
Yeah, but I think you'd be moving to their discretion about what to come up with. Like,
Well,
where is the
there's
curriculum
facts, there's
committee?
Fox, we can alternate them, I don't care.
Some parents though have one news station to listen to faithfully, and the kids are gonna see that station and no others.
But coming from a school district, I don't feel we should be branding a particular,
No, what they do at home is their decision.
Yeah,
At
this is
they
school.
shouldn't
This
be
is school.
Subject to one particular news platform, I don't think either. What was that thing when I was in school?
Channel 1?
Channel one.
News.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, bring that back.
So I believe Anderson Cooper got his start on channel.
No, it's unseen.
I'm sorry. No.
so,
From what I remember being in high school, I think it was.
so what's the next step? That's what the next step, we're not able to vote, or how about a show of hands, who wants to get rid of it?
Would you like to, Ms. Progress, we can make a motion that's, I guess, symbolic of the position of the board, and then pending curriculum review, is that, instead of raising our hands, is that something that we're able to do?
I'm just curious, if we don't have enough votes, then it's not gonna go anywhere.
Well, the resolution, if symbolic, is just gonna be symbolic. It's gonna have no impact.
Well, are we able to have an impact? Could we, if we made a motion right now to ban CNN 10 and it passed, would that ban CNN 10, or would the administration be able to say, we're still showing it, doesn't matter what we vote?
At that point, if you're starting to make decisions regarding particular instructional tools,
Yeah.
you're getting into the realm of administering, and not government.
That's why I'm asking.
So do the parents need to come and voice their opinion then?
They can certainly do so to demonstrate to the
They wanna
board
voice their opinion?
And you can, in curriculum committee, Mr. Bresker, if I'm correct, speak to the administration about what are the alternatives. And I think the board, at least the majority here have made it clear that we have 8 there. So I think so let's, why don't you attend the next curriculum meeting, and then we can revisit it.
And like I said, I think the director of curriculum already has other viable options. That may be part of the budgeting process.
Awesome, thank you. Go ahead. Mr. Nuss, you have other?
I do. So speaking about what Amber talked about with regards to teachers, I had the same exact issue. When I spoke about it as a board member, I learned to be very clear now that there are, a majority of our teachers are awesome. I don't have an issue with that. But like she said, there are teachers that don't pull their weight. And, it's bothersome that you have this scenario. I experienced it. Half of my kids' teachers in 8th grade were fantastic. Some of them weren't. And as a board member, I got grief for making statements. So I'm being clear, there are fantastic teachers here. And they do a great job. The problem that I always have is when you have one teacher speak and they speak, I don't know, puppies and rainbows about the entire association. And, you know, we owe it to the kids and we owe it to the parents to find out what's going on with this grading. And I have an issue with a lot of what she said, and I don't know how we rectify it, because I had issues with it years ago, you've had issues with it. The other thing I wanna say is, if any of my family or friends of mine, if I feel that they're being targeted based on my comments, the horns are coming out. Things need to get fixed. Teachers need to be held accountable. I'm not for tenure. I will say this though, and I do want to remind people as well. I was one of 2 board members that stood up for a teacher, the only teacher that the district fired. I stood up in the Donaldson area and fought for her. So I felt she was getting railroaded. So if there are teachers that are doing their job, I'm gonna stick up for them. I'm not gonna stick up for teachers that are not doing their job. And I think there needs to be some accountability, and where does that come in?
How often are teachers evaluated?
Well, that's the problem, tenure. That's where I feel there's an issue,
Yeah, so,
and there's nothing that you can do about it.
yeah,
So,
I'm sorry.
sorry.
I mean, the tenure conversation would be a state level conversation. Teachers are evaluated at any point between 2 and 3 times a year, depending upon how long they served in the district. And it's a combination of announced and unannounced observations. So sometimes they know you're coming in, and sometimes they don't.
Is there a structure, Mr. Gall, as far as submitting grades to the portal, how long teachers have? Does it depend on the school?
Yeah, so some of the concerns that are heard tonight, and I'm gonna follow up with the administration. I piloted many, many years ago the introduction of real-time parent portal in the school district. And at that time, you know, we had very candid conversations with the superintendent about how to structure grades and things like that. And the system was programmed and structured in such a way where certain assignments and outcomes counted for certain percentages. So for example, don't hold me to this criteria, but say homework counted for 10%, test scores counted for 30%, that kind of thing. So to my knowledge, that hasn't been significantly modified in the system. So I'm gonna go back in and look to make sure that, and then see if there's a way that anyone might be getting around that. Mr. Wynn, I'd be happy to follow up with Mom if she might have more specific details about that. You know, I certainly got what Mrs. Simon said tonight relative to the subject areas that you can go in and look at specifically, just to kind of audit those.
The other thing I don't know, I think James brought it up. I have an issue with the teacher telling a student to try better the next semester. And if that teacher's not putting their information into the portal on time, technology-wise, can you see when information is entered? Like, can you see that?
Yeah, so I mean,
Actually
the
entered
schools will put
information?
out deadlines because that parent.
No, I'm saying, like, if you look at the data that's entered, does it give you the date and time that it's entered? So can you go in, so teacher A may have all the information in there, but if I went in on the back end, can I see that, all of that information?
I don't know the answer to that, I have to check.
Well, check with Francie, because there should be that capability. That should be built into the platform. So if that's the case, then you should be able to run a report and see who's entering their information at the end. And then where's the accountability from there? I'm on fire, I got more stuff to do. So we'll go on.
Yeah, I mean, in short, the accountability would lie with the administration to follow up on that, whether it's the superintendent, the principal, the supervisor, the department head, that kind of thing. You know, the idea behind a parent portal, and Mrs. Simons kind of touch on this, or you know, point home, is the communication that a staff member or teacher has with the parent. Like, that's the ultimate goal of keeping parents informed and pursuing that dialogue. That's what you want to do. Not rely on the parent portal. I mean, it's a good documentation piece. It's how you do a report card now, but the ultimate thing that we want everybody to do is facilitate a good relationship between the parents and the teachers, right?
Sure, but what happens with kids with their 504 or their IEP where there's no communication? Like, if there's no communication, if there's no email trail, if there's no communication and a parent is coming, where, like, when, at what point are we liable? Like, I had that same issue with a few teachers, so it hits home. And you know what? There needs to be accountability, and people need to know that it's gonna happen. Like, that's the frustrating part. You have all these awesome teachers that are doing their job. They're doing a great job at it.
Who should be upset that they're doing extra?
And
They
how many
should.
parents don't
Honestly.
know? I mean, we talk about kids going home and being concerned that they're gonna get in trouble. But think about the kid who goes home, who doesn't have a parent, and is gonna assume the kid earned the 53 and give grief to the kid. You know what, I don't know. How does everyone else feel about it? Because it frustrates the hell out of me.
Man, I don't know how you can be a teacher and not call a parent or email the parent when they're failing. Well, obviously it's happening, but it shouldn't be. So I don't know if there is not, a policy or it's not being followed up on, but.
It's a 504.
We've had the same experience.
And I mean, even if a kid doesn't have a 504, when you have a kid that's a 53, it's not like the marking period was trash. You got a 96 in algebra. You don't, 504 not.
Right.
Phone call's not made to the parent when you have a kid with 50. My kid just what? He came in and laid down in your classroom every day and went to sleep.
I agree.
I'm not buying it.
I agree.
They're making robots. It wasn't happening.
The reporting is the same as the email communication. Some teachers put the scores in immediately and will communicate relatively quickly. Other teachers don't put them in, sometimes 3 or 4 days before you can get a return email.
Right. Well, tell you,
It's a
I
struggle,
agree.
it's just not consistent.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Nuss, you have anything else?
I do. So people confuse me with being on the High Point Board of Ed. And ironically, I was alerted to homework assignment that went out up at High Point, but they thought I was on High Point. And so obviously I went to the board meeting up there, and I know people are concerned about CRT being taught in the schools. And the homework assignment that went out came from a place called Welcome to Learning for Justice, formerly Teaching Tolerance. So we're going back to like old business because, I don't want CRT in the schools. So this homework came from what's it called, what is it, where is it? Where was it? The Southern Poverty Law Center. And what doesn't make me feel good is, I'm just gonna read you 3 sentences or 4 sentences. And this is what this university is pushing out there. Our work has evolved in the last 30 years from reducing prejudice to tackling systemic injustice. So we've chosen a new name that better reflects evolution, Learning for Justice. So this is what this law school curriculum that was approved and came home from students at High Point, and I'll get to why I'm bringing it up here. It says, Learning for Justice seeks to uphold the mission of the Southern Poverty Law Center, to be a catalyst for racial justice in the South and beyond, working in partnership with communities to dismantle white supremacy, strengthen intersectional movements, and advance the human rights of all people. We support this mission of focusing our work with educators, students, and caregivers. I'm bringing this up because I want to make sure that, as far as I'm saying, I'm going on record, I don't want us to have anything from this school in our curriculum. And I guess, do you know, like, how does that work with your director of curriculum? Like, do teachers submit, like, are they giving, how does that work? Do they say, I want to teach this?
So let me just say that is not occurring here,
Okay.
right? You approve as a Board of Education curriculum guides that are updated on a regular basis, be it every 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, that kind of thing. And that's kind of the framework that teachers will use to instruct students.
So there's no chance that a teacher would be getting like it would have to be approved from this school, because it was approved up at High Point, and they're not doing CRT, they just, I guess, approved this.
Yeah, I can't comment on anything that's occurring at High Point. I mean, you know, you may have fluid conversations in a classroom that occur spontaneously type thing, but I'm not aware of anything like that has been requested to be approved.
And the other question that I guess the other thing I want to bring up is, what if parents in our district were to get the homework assignment and feel that, like hypothetically, if this was our school and I got this,
Yeah.
how do we look into it?
We can do it as a board, a parent.
Or in your case, what would you do if I brought this to you and said it came from one of our classes? Like, how would that be addressed?
I mean, I think it would go to, you know, hypotheticals.
Yeah,
which-
hypotheticals.
Yeah, so I think it would go to the building administrator, ask them to look into, you know, where's the lesson plan associated with this? Did they talk to you? That kind of thing. Get some, you know, the first rule of administration is trying to get more information about whatever the situation is. If you're a parent and you have a concern about any topic, you know, you kind of follow a sequence of events. You know, you try to talk to your child's teacher, resolve the matter that way. If that doesn't get resolved that way, you talk to department head, depending on what the issue is, maybe a special services issue, maybe a curriculum matter, refer to the curriculum office. Generally speaking, our principals are pretty good at navigating discussions between teachers and
I'm asking just so that the public knows. So
Are
like.
do you have some kind of insight that you're trying to tell me this assignment
No,
is?
you're looking at me like you can talk to them, because I'm kind of like, if people have issues, I want them to know what to do, rather than call the board member.
Yeah.
They can, that's fine.
So I mean, I also have kids, you know, this school age and, you know, in the neighboring town. And if we have a concern, we go to my kid. Mrs. Gall goes to the teacher, which is really not good for anyone. You're probably better off dealing with me. And, you know, try to resolve it with the teacher. When she's dissatisfied with that, she goes right to the administration. You know, generally at that level it becomes resolved one way or the other. They agree to disagree. And if after that you go to the superintendent, depending upon what the issue is, there's a sequence of events sometimes where then ultimately someone can appeal a decision to the board. You know, for example, like a disciplinary matter where ultimately if a party is dissatisfied with the decision, they can appeal it to the board. You know, ultimately kind of becomes like the Supreme Court in that, you know, if you will, decision-making process. So that's kind of the rule of thumb I'd follow. You start at the lowest level possible, you know, not implying that teachers are low, but it's the first line of communication, you know.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Mills?
Oh, he's put me on the spot tonight. Come on, Ken.
Sorry.
What else you
It's been
got?
a long week. I think that's it for now. We'll look at new business later. Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nuss. Is there any other unfinished business? All right, we'll move on to new business. Does anyone on the board have any new business they would like to discuss other than Mr. Nuss?
Yeah, I just, well, like I said, in buildings and grounds, I had asked if there's anything that we needed. And, you know, that we could, if we had to, put on our radar, and I think we're pretty good. So,
Yeah, to the board's credit, not just this board, but the boards over my entire time in the school district, they've always tried to move the ball, you know, down the field, you know, to achieve things in buildings and grounds. You know, I think you helped spearhead the auditorium here, the basketball court. You know, our facilities department has, you know, depending upon the facility director, has always tried to advance the school district.
I'm glad you did the playground. That was how many years?
Which one, Wantage
You
School?
wanted,
Yeah.
Any other new business? Seeing none, we will move on to audience remarks. Members of the audience are invited to make brief comments about items on this agenda and matters of interest to the district.
Hi, good evening. I'm Lisa Barenfeld. I'm speaking on behalf of SWEA, Sussex-Wantage Education Association. I have with me Stephanie Birnbaum tonight, who is also on our executive committee. We are the new pride chairs also for SWEA. our Kim Walsh, beloved Kim Walsh, has retired, so she was our pride chair along with Carol Speck, who chose to step down this year. So we just want to share with you one of the activities that we just did through the district. If you don't mind, I just want to approach and hand this out so you guys can have a copy.
Thank
you. Mr. Giuliano? Or Mrs. Brooks? Just so you can see what we're talking about. So because of the pandemic, a lot of the activities that we used to provide for the school district, which, benefited the community, the parents, the children, we were unable to have in person. So we came up with the Snow Day Kit activity. So with the onset of the pandemic, ideas for bringing together teachers, staff, students, and families has been very challenging. This year, we opted for a new connection. So on February 10th, members of the SWIA Pride held an event to hand out snow day kits for families and students in grades K to 2. There were some also from the Wantage building as well. Then the kit was a book purchased by SWIA, a craft, and a packet of hot chocolate, as well as placed in the snowman bag. SWIA gave out approximately 112 kits. We had 150 available, so we still have some that we're giving to families that are in need. So we are providing you right now with just a little glimpse of like what happened that day, the setup, the breakdown, the people that were involved, and also there were some families that were kind enough to send us pictures, and that's why we were allowed to show you those pictures tonight of what they did. So they were all just sharing their love of reading at home, which we used to do within the building, which we can't wait to return to someday as well. So that's one activity that we did. Another one that we're planning right now, this is all through Pride grants that we write personally, and we get the money and the funding from NJEA. We have right now a $2,000 donation that's going to the Help Center in our community that will provide much needed food from the families in the community. So that is going to be arranged within the next couple of weeks. And I also want to mention that on behalf of SWIA, also we're very saddened by the loss of Mr. Tom Card. He was, a fabulous member of the community, a fabulous member of our Board of Education, and also a past president. So I just wanted to take the time to recognize Mr. Tom Card and his family, and our condolences out to his entire family. And lastly, I was hoping not to bring this up, but I have to, because I feel like some parts of this meeting tonight got a little bit out of order when teachers' names were specifically called out.
I hope you're not gonna threaten me with a letter, Lisa, because it's on. Because I'm the one that's got the lawsuit ready to go, honey, so don't even start it.
I'm sorry, Mrs.
Don't even start it.
We're gonna let Mrs. Farrell finish. You can come up
I'm
now.
just citing Robert's rules, which
Good
are
for you.
actually the
Good
ethics
for
of
you,
the Board of
Lisa.
Education.
Good for you.
My job as a board president is
Needs
to
to go.
protect my staff,
Needs to go.
the staff of the district.
Mrs.
Please let everybody make their comment, please.
Go ahead, Mrs. Farrell.
Thank you very much, Mr. D'Agostino. I'm just reminding the Board of Education that there are rules to follow. If you're not sure what Robert's rules are, please do take the time to look them up. Because staff members, just like Mr. Gall had said to Mr. Nuss, what the procedures are, if there's a complaint a parent has about curriculum, there's also proper procedures to follow if a parent has a complaint about a specific teacher. So the procedure again is, you go to the teacher. If you feel you get nowhere with the teacher, and if that's the case, I'm sorry if that is the case, but if you feel you get nowhere with the teacher, you go to the building principal. If you get nowhere at the building principal level, then you go to the superintendent. And that's exactly what the proper procedure is. I'm speaking on behalf of my members. I am just the president, but I do have to make sure that I acknowledge this, and I'm just letting you know that I fully support the staff and following the proper procedures. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Farrell.
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Farrell.
Lisa, are you by chance referring to me? Because I didn't mention any names.
I think she's referring to members of the public. However, my understanding is that members of the public have free speech and could say
Correct.
That's why
Whatever
I
that-
just want clarification.
So as a Board of Education, we don't use teachers' names. Members of the public certainly can, if my understanding is, with the knowledge that whatever they say, they could, be held accountable for if they say something that's out of line. But the board, tell me if I'm wrong, Mr. Bress, is not allowed to police the public as far as talking about specific teachers.
You're correct. Members of the public have the right to share with the board matters of concern that regard the Board of Education, which may include employees. The board cannot respond directly with respect to certain employees, but the members of the public can certainly express their concerns, and that's one way to bring that attention to the board members so they can thereafter follow up with the administration.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Nuss.
I want clarification, because I want to make sure that I didn't say a name.
No, you didn't, Ken.
I don't believe.
But I want to hear it from Lisa. You're not referring to me in your comments, are you?
No, I was the only one that said a name,
Well, I
so
want to
that's
make
what
sure I didn't say anything, like, I'm asking.
I was being threatened
Mr.
as
Nuss,
a member of the public by the
specifically
teachers
said
union
members of the
president,
public, no.
as a member of the
So,
public.
Yeah, but
Karen.
but I guess, so let's get into this discussion. Who is the union to tell the board that we have to police the public?
Correct.
Like, this is where I have a problem. Like, I don't get it. Does anyone else have a problem with that?
I think,
Like-
an employee, including members of the association, parents, community members, they're all considered members of the public. They, like everyone else, have the right to address concerns to the board, even if that includes, beliefs that there might have been violations, so they can speak to it. This is just a public comment that was made. There is nothing filed. This is public comment being brought to your attention. You have the opportunity to thereafter speak with me for clarification on what occurred, the rights of board members and members of the public, and also address things with administration.
I just get, I'm just baffled. Like, I'm still trying to understand this. And please, don't take this the wrong way, Lisa, but do you mean that you expect the board,
If you can,
like, I don't
the board
understand.
president is the one that would lead the meeting, so if you can limit your comments to just the board and the board president and not directly to the members of the public.
Okay, so, but how do I
And
get
you
an
can
answer?
express this-
Can you ask her, like, is the understanding, is that the understanding that we're supposed to say something to the public? I just don't get it. Like, I think that's an overreach. Does anyone else agree, or am I talking to myself?
I'm sorry, so the board is not allowed to address the public either, just I thought that public comments were supposed to be directed at the board president.
We are. And then the board president can authorize superintendent or another member of the board to respond, but generally there is no
Board comments as well.
dialogue between board members and members of the audience.
I agree.
Okay.
Any other audience remarks?
It's audience remark time? Still?
Yes.
Great,
It's a new one.
great. Tackle that where you want. I do not need a lesson or a threat by the teachers union president, okay? Because I can come up here and I can voice my opinion and I can rant and rave about my child being failed more than one way by multiple teachers in this school. I have an issue that she came up here and stated what she stated as an employee of the district, whatever she's speaking as, because Mr. Gohl, you're very well aware, and Ken Nuss is very well aware, and the board members have been made aware that a letter from SWIA, who comes up here and tries to make like they're all peaches and cream, is using their SWIA money to also have attorneys write letters to people threatening them with lawsuits. Because the last time Ken had an issue with a teacher, he got a certified letter in the mail, and Mr. Gohl got a certified letter in the mail from SWIA threatening them that they were gonna have legal action taken against them because they said something about a teacher. So I kind of felt a little attacked here by the president of the teachers union. Like, what do you think, you're gonna bully me into not telling the truth about what happened to my kid on his report card? That's not happening. So if anybody has a lawsuit here, it's me and my son, who has been failed by many teachers who did not follow his 504 through 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So maybe it's time for me to go see an attorney because my kid has suffered through 3 years with multiple teachers who didn't adhere to his 504. I'm not gonna stand here and get threatened by some teachers union president because I know that's where she's going with it, because she already had the teachers union send a letter to our superintendent and to Ken Nuss threatening him because he had a problem with the teachers. I don't need to be reminded of any of your rules. My kid is the most important thing. Don't think for 1 second your teachers union means squat to me.
Mrs. Simons,
Swap.
if you could just.
I'm done. I'm
All right,
done.
thank you.
Just need to sit here and give everybody a lesson. Give you a lesson on what the teachers didn't do for my kid.
Are there any other audience remarks? Seeing none, we do need to go into the second executive session on non-agenda items. No action will be taken. No action will be taken. And at approximately 20 minutes, can I get a resolution, please, Mr. Mayor?
Whereas pursuant to NJSA 10-4-12B, the Sussex-Wantage Regional Board of Education may exclude the public from that portion of a public meeting at which the board discusses any of the matters described at NJSA 10-4-12B 1 through 9. Now therefore be it resolved that the Sussex-Wantage Regional Board of Education shall enter into closed session to discuss legal matters. Now therefore be it further resolved by the Sussex-Wantage Regional Board of Education that pursuant to NJSA 10-4-13B, the time when and the circumstances under which a discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public is when the need for confidentiality no longer exists.
Thank you. Looking for a motion to enter executive session.
Okay, you can do it.
I'll make a motion.
Thank
Now
you.
seconding it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Back in public session, I'd like to look for a motion to adjourn, please.
I'd like to make that motion.
I'd like to second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
All right, have a good night.